Do you think you already know everything about Star Trek 1966? Take a closer look. Behind this legendary science fiction series are secrets that nearly caused the entire project to disappear forever. Controversial decisions, behind-the-scenes accidents, and astonishing facts that even many longtime fans have never heard about. Today, we will explore 15 shocking facts you totally missed about Star Trek 1966. Watch until the end, because the final fact could completely change the way you see this legendary science fiction series. Before we begin, leave a comment if you are ready to uncover the truth. Now, let's power up the warp engines and discover the first fact. Number 15. The kiss that terrified the network. In 1968, Star Trek aired the episode Plato's Stepchildren, which featured a kiss between William Shatner and Nichelle Nichols. Today, it seems like an ordinary moment on screen, but at the time, it made everyone at NBC extremely nervous. The network feared that the kiss would spark controversy, especially at local television stations across the American South, where some might even refuse to air the episode. As a result, the executives asked the production team to film a safer version in which the two characters simply moved close to each other without actually touching lips. However, William Shatner and Nichelle Nichols did not want that to happen. According to Nichols, the two of them deliberately ruined every alternate take. They looked in the wrong direction, mistimed their performances, and even made silly facial expressions so those scenes could not be used. During the final take, Shatner was also said to have looked directly into the camera, making the footage even more difficult to edit. In the end, the production ran out of both time and money. The only usable version was the real kiss. NBC prepared itself for a flood of complaint letters from viewers. But the exact opposite happened. Instead of criticism, the network received many letters praising the episode. Quite a few people even said they did not understand why the scene had been considered controversial in the first place. It turned out that the audience was far more open-minded than the NBC executives had imagined. The very moment the network tried to avoid became one of the most memorable scenes in television history. Number 14. Star Trek's Communicator inspired the mobile phone. In Star Trek, the handheld communicator was nothing more than a piece of science fiction technology. With a simple flip of the lid, the crew of the Enterprise could instantly talk to each other, even across great distances. In 1966, that idea seemed completely impossible. Yet just a few years later, Motorola engineer Martin Cooper created the first handheld mobile phone in 1973. In many interviews, he acknowledged that Star Trek was one of his major sources of inspiration. Watching Captain Kirk flip open his communicator and speak through it convinced him that the real world should have a device like that. This story has been repeated for decades. However, Cooper later explained more fully that his earliest inspiration was actually the two-way wrist radio used by the comic strip character Dick Tracy, which had captured his imagination when he was a child. Even so, he also admitted that Star Trek helped nurture that idea. And whenever documentary filmmakers came to interview him, the Star Trek story always attracted more attention. Motorola also had no hesitation in emphasizing that connection. In 1996, Motorola introduced the StarTAC flip phone. Even its name was widely seen as a tribute to Star Trek. The phone's flip-open design was also intentionally meant to resemble the communicator that Captain Kirk used aboard the Enterprise. What once existed only in the imagination of filmmakers in the 1960s eventually became an everyday item, carried in the pockets of millions of people around the world nearly 30 years later. Number 13. Spock almost had red skin, and NBC thought he looked like Satan. Spock almost appeared with a completely different look. At first, Gene Roddenberry wanted the character to have red skin to make him look more like an alien. However, that idea was quickly abandoned after the production team reviewed the pilot episode. In 1966, most viewers still watched television in black and white, and the red makeup simply appeared as a dull gray on screen, making Spock look strange rather than different. But that was not the only obstacle. When NBC executives saw Spock's pointed ears and sharply arched eyebrows, they worried that he looked too much like Satan. They feared that viewers with strong religious beliefs would object to the show. As a result, in the first promotional photos, Spock's ears were even retouched to make them less pointed, and his eyebrows were softened to make the character look more human. Makeup artist Fred Phillips later switched to a yellow-green skin tone to create Spock's signature appearance. However, a new problem soon appeared. Every time the film reels were sent to the laboratory for processing, the technicians assumed the skin color was a mistake and automatically corrected it back to a normal pink tone. This happened repeatedly because even the laboratory technicians could not believe that a green-skinned officer was exactly what the production team intended. In the end, when Star Trek officially premiered, audiences did not see the frightening figure that NBC had feared. Instead, they were introduced to the most iconic and beloved character in the entire history of Star Trek. Number 12. Lucille Ball refused to cancel the show. Star Trek nearly disappeared before audiences had the chance to watch a single episode. In 1965, NBC rejected the first pilot episode, titled The Cage. The network believed the show was too difficult to understand, and Desilu Productions began to fear that the project would be canceled. Just as all hope was nearly gone, Lucille Ball stepped in to protect the show. As the owner of Desilu, she decided to use the company's money to produce a second pilot episode, even though the board of directors and the accountants all opposed the decision. They warned that continuing to invest in an expensive science fiction series could cause the company to suffer heavy losses, but Lucy still said yes. Interestingly, there is a story that she did not even understand what Star Trek was about. Lucy reportedly thought it was a show about entertainers performing for American troops overseas. Even after someone explained that it was a story about a spaceship and an alien with pointed ears, she kept her decision unchanged. The second pilot episode, titled Where No Man Has Gone Before, eventually convinced NBC. Without Lucille Ball, there might never have been the Enterprise, Spock, the feature films, or the Star Trek franchise that has lasted for nearly 60 years. It all began with the decision of one woman who dared to believe in a project that almost no one else believed in. Number 11. The fans themselves saved the show. Long before the age of hashtags or online petitions, Star Trek fans created one of the biggest campaigns to save a show in television history. What they used was not social media, but typewriters, postage stamps, and persistence. In late 1967, when rumors spread that NBC was preparing to cancel Star Trek after Season 2, fans immediately took action. A female fan and her husband launched a letter-writing campaign with a plan called Rule Number 10. Each person wrote one letter to NBC and then called on 10 more people to do the same. After that, each of those 10 people would continue encouraging 10 more people. The campaign spread at an astonishing speed. NBC confirmed that it had received more than 116,000 letters. If petitions and group letters are included, many sources say the real number may have reached nearly 1 million. The pressure from fans grew so strong that NBC had to change its mind and announce that Star Trek had been renewed for a third season during a live broadcast. The network even jokingly asked the fans not to send any more letters. Although the show was eventually canceled, fans still did not give up. Students at Caltech, MIT, and Berkeley organized torchlight marches with banners saying, "Canceling Star Trek is completely illogical." By the 1970s, they were also campaigning for NASA to name the first space shuttle Enterprise. Those very campaigns helped Star Trek continue to live on through reruns, fan conventions, and finally the first feature film. It can be said that Star Trek was not only created by filmmakers, but also by the viewers who never gave up on it. If you love Star Trek behind-the-scenes secrets, do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel before Scotty beams us aboard. Comment with the character on the Enterprise that you love the most. Now, let's explore the remaining secrets of this legendary ship. Number 10. Scotty was a real-life war hero. Before becoming Chief Engineer Montgomery Scott aboard the Enterprise, James Doohan experienced the brutal battlefields of the Second World War. He served as a lieutenant in the Canadian Army and took part in the landing at Juno Beach, in France, on the 6th of June, 1944, D-Day. Under heavy enemy fire, Doohan led his unit across a minefield and helped take out 2 German snipers. For most people, that alone would have been an extraordinary achievement. But his day was far from over. Later that evening, while moving between command posts in the darkness, Doohan was mistakenly identified as an enemy soldier by a Canadian sentry and was shot 6 times. 4 bullets struck his leg. 1 shattered the middle finger on his right hand. The final bullet went straight toward his chest and should have taken his life. Fortunately, the bullet struck a silver cigarette case in his jacket pocket, a gift from his brother. The case stopped the bullet and saved his life. Doohan lost 1 finger, but continued his acting career. When he played Scotty in Star Trek, he always tried to hide his injured hand by choosing the right camera angles, keeping his hand in carefully placed positions, or using a stunt double for close-up shots of his hands. He did not want the audience to be distracted by his wartime injury whenever Scotty was working at the control panel. Most fans never noticed. Only a few sharp-eyed viewers spotted the missing finger, especially in the episode The Trouble with Tribbles, where Scotty's hand briefly appears among the furry creatures. It turns out that the brave engineer aboard the Enterprise was even tougher in real life than the character he portrayed on screen. Number 9. A clever trick with the theme song earned Roddenberry a fortune. The opening theme of Star Trek is one of the most famous pieces of music in television history, composed by Alexander Courage. But what few people know is that Gene Roddenberry received half of the royalties from that theme for many years, even though he did not write the melody. The reason was a common clause in music contracts at the time. If a song had both music and lyrics, the lyricist would receive half of the royalties every time the work was used or broadcast. Roddenberry quickly took advantage of that clause. He wrote lyrics for the theme song. They were only a few lines with a romantic theme about love among the stars, were never intended to be sung, and never appeared on television. After finishing them, he simply submitted the lyrics as part of the copyright registration. With that single step, Roddenberry officially became a co-author of the song on paper. From then on, every time Star Trek was broadcast, half of the theme's royalties went to him. Alexander Courage was reportedly very unhappy about the arrangement. Although he acknowledged that it was completely legal, he believed it was not fair. Afterward, the relationship between the two men became strained, and Courage did not continue composing music for the later seasons. As Star Trek became more and more successful through reruns, feature films, and numerous related projects, those lyrics that were never sung continued to generate royalty income. In the end, they earned Gene Roddenberry, and later his family, millions of dollars. Number 8. The first female officer was erased from history. Long before audiences were introduced to Mr. Spock, the first officer aboard the Enterprise was actually a woman. In the 1965 pilot episode The Cage, Nichelle Barrett played Number 1, an intelligent, calm female officer who always kept her emotions under control and carried out her command duties with confidence. However, NBC did not accept the character. The network executives believed that audiences at the time would have a difficult time accepting the image of a woman giving orders to men, especially a character who was cold, strong, and not written to fit the familiar image of a gentle woman. The situation became even more sensitive because Nichelle Barrett was in a romantic relationship with Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek. The network was uncomfortable with an actress who was not yet well known being given such an important role. As a result, when NBC requested a second pilot episode, Number 1 was removed from the script. However, Roddenberry did not give up on the character. He kept almost all of Number 1's qualities, from her calm personality and logical thinking to her ability to control her emotions, then transferred them to the character of Spock. Interestingly, in the first pilot episode, Spock was still quite emotional and often showed his feelings. It was only after the character was rewritten that he became the symbol of pure logic and reason that fans remember today. Although she lost the role of Number 1, Nichelle Barrett remained part of Star Trek. She returned as Nurse Christine Chapel, later married Gene Roddenberry, and also became the familiar voice of the Enterprise computer across many Star Trek series until the end of her life. Number 7. The Vulcan salute came from a childhood memory. The Vulcan salute, along with the phrase, "Live long and prosper," has become one of the most recognizable symbols of Star Trek. But what is interesting is that this gesture was not in the original script. Its inspiration came from one of Leonard Nimoy's childhood memories. Growing up in an Orthodox Jewish family in Boston, he often went to the synagogue with his family. During a special blessing ceremony, everyone was instructed to close their eyes or turn their faces away because, according to tradition, it was the moment when the divine presence appeared and no one was allowed to look. But young Leonard secretly opened his eyes. He saw the rabbis raising both hands with their fingers separated into a V shape. The hand position formed the Hebrew letter Shin, a symbol associated with one of the names of God. That image remained deeply in his mind for many years. By the second season of Star Trek, in the episode Amok Time, the script called for a unique greeting for the Vulcan people. Leonard Nimoy immediately suggested the gesture he had witnessed as a child. The director agreed, and the cameras began rolling. No one expected that an ancient religious ritual would become one of the most famous symbols of popular culture. Years later, Leonard Nimoy said that he was delighted to know that millions of fans around the world had unknowingly been offering one another a blessing every time they raised their hands and said, "Live long and prosper." Number 6. Beam me up. Scotty was never actually said. "Beam me up, Scotty" is probably the most famous line associated with Star Trek. It has appeared on t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, comedy shows, and countless parodies for more than half a century. Even many people who have never watched Star Trek know the line by heart. But there is one surprising fact. Throughout all 79 episodes of the original series, Captain Kirk never once said the exact words, "Beam me up, Scotty." Instead, he used several very similar lines, such as "Scotty, beam us up," "Beam me up," or "Scotty, get us out of here." The wording changed depending on the situation and the level of danger the crew was facing. However, the version that the whole world remembers never actually appeared in the script. Over time, that line became even more famous than the real dialogue. By the 1990s, even the cast had stopped trying to correct people. The clearest example is James Doohan, who played Scotty. He titled his 1996 memoir, "Beam Me Up, Scotty." By then, the phrase had already become part of popular culture and had gone far beyond the series that inspired it. It is perhaps one of the most famous lines in television history, yet it is also a line that was never actually spoken on screen. Number 5. The Tribbles would not go away. The episode The Trouble with Tribbles was made to bring a lighter and more humorous story to Star Trek. It centered on small, furry creatures that reproduced at an incredible rate and quickly filled the Enterprise. On screen, they were absolutely adorable, but behind the scenes, they became a nightmare for the entire production crew. To create the impression that there were thousands of Tribbles, the prop department actually made only about 500 of them. They were simply fake balls of fur stuffed with foam rubber, and some were fitted with parts from wind-up toys so they could wobble and move on their own. They were simple, inexpensive, but remarkably effective. The problem was that after filming was finished, no one managed to collect all of them. For weeks afterward, Tribbles kept turning up in the most unexpected places, from lighting rigs and desk drawers to air ducts and equipment cases. No one could remember when they had been left behind. DeForest Kelley later recalled that those little balls of fur kept appearing out of nowhere, bringing laughter to the cast and crew after long and exhausting workdays. Things became even more amusing when the cast started using the Tribbles to prank one another. They secretly stuffed them into jacket pockets, lunch bags, or inside their co-workers' costumes. On one occasion, Kelley unexpectedly pulled a Tribble out of a patient's clothing while filming a completely different episode, just to make the entire set burst into laughter. The famous scene in which a storage compartment opens and hundreds of Tribbles come pouring down, burying William Shatner, was not easy to film either. The crew had to shoot it 8 times. The people positioned above could not see Shatner, so they just kept throwing more Tribbles down to make sure the scene looked spectacular enough. After production ended, many members of the crew took Tribbles home as souvenirs. Others were donated to the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, where they are still preserved and displayed to this day. Number 4. The hometown of a captain who has not been born yet. In 1985, the small town of Riverside, Iowa, did something truly remarkable. It officially declared itself the future hometown of Captain James T. Kirk, even though, according to the story, the character had not yet been born. The idea came from a detail in the 1968 book The Making of Star Trek. The book only stated that Kirk was born in a small town in Iowa, but it never identified the specific town. Riverside decided to claim that title for itself. The town council unanimously approved the decision, and Gene Roddenberry publicly supported it. As a result, Riverside gradually became a special destination for the Star Trek fan community, even though it did not officially appear in the story for many years. Over time, the entire town embraced the idea. They built the Voyage Home Museum, erected a monument marking the place where Captain Kirk would one day be born, and one local bar even put up a sign marking the spot where Kirk will be conceived. Every June, Riverside hosts Trek Fest, featuring parades, cosplay, panel discussions, and appearances by many Star Trek actors, including William Shatner and George Takei. It is perhaps the strangest birthday celebration in the world, held for a character who has not even been born yet. Then, in 2009, the reboot film, Star Trek, finally brought Riverside to the screen and officially confirmed Captain Kirk's Iowa hometown. After nearly 25 years, what the people of Riverside had always believed finally became part of Star Trek itself. Number 3. The Girdle rumor has never gone away. There is one rumor that has followed William Shatner for nearly 60 years, and to this day, many people still believe it is true. According to the rumor, he always wore a girdle underneath his Starfleet uniform to make Captain Kirk look slimmer on camera. The story has repeatedly surfaced at fan conventions, on online forums, and in countless articles about Star Trek. However, William Shatner himself has repeatedly stated that it is completely untrue. In interviews, in his memoirs, and even during live appearances, Shatner has always denied the rumor. He even joked that he has spent more than half a century answering questions about his underwear. Even so, the rumor has continued to spread. One reason is that television studios in the 1960s paid close attention to the appearance of their leading male actors. The pressure to maintain a certain physique was real, but that did not mean Shatner wore a girdle under his uniform. Many people believe the rumor began because Shatner's appearance changed slightly from one season to another. After years of working under a demanding filming schedule, that kind of change was completely normal. However, what started as a joke among fans gradually spread by word of mouth and eventually became a fact, repeated over and over across the internet. Even today, William Shatner still gives the same answer with a very relaxed attitude. There was no girdle at all, only an actor doing his best to play his role. Number 2. Martin Luther King Jr. convinced Nichelle Nichols to stay. After the first season of Star Trek, Nichelle Nichols decided to leave the show. She wanted to return to Broadway, which had always been one of her greatest passions, and her resignation letter was almost ready. But then an unexpected meeting changed everything. At an NAACP fundraising event in Beverly Hills, one of the organizers told Nichols that a very special fan wanted to meet her. She thought it was simply someone who enjoyed Star Trek. Instead, the person waiting for her was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When Nichols told him that she was about to leave Star Trek, Martin Luther King Jr. immediately urged her to stay. He did not mention money or fame. What mattered to him was what Lieutenant Uhura meant to millions of Americans. According to him, for the first time on television, a black woman was portrayed as an intelligent, professional officer who was respected by her colleagues rather than appearing only in minor roles or familiar stereotypes. King then revealed something that completely surprised Nichols. He told her that Star Trek was the only television show that he and his wife, Coretta, allowed their children to stay up late to watch. To him, Star Trek was not just a science fiction series, but a vision of a more equal and better future. The following Monday, Nichelle Nichols returned to see Gene Roddenberry and withdrew her resignation. According to Nichols herself, Roddenberry was deeply moved and said, "At last, someone understands what I have been trying to create." Number 1. The Star Trek cast really reached the stars. Gene Roddenberry spent his entire life imagining a future in which humanity explored space. After he passed away in 1991, that dream, in a way, became reality. In 1992, a portion of Roddenberry's ashes was carried aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia on a short mission into Earth orbit before returning to Earth. It was the final gift from his wife to the man who had always dreamed of the stars. Then, in 1997, Roddenberry's ashes took part in the first memorial spaceflight in history, organized by a private company. The capsule also carried the ashes of Timothy Leary and orbited Earth for nearly 5 years before re-entering the atmosphere in 2002, burning up like a shooting star. But the journey did not end there. In 2008, an astronaut secretly carried a small portion of James Doohan's ashes to the International Space Station, where they were kept inside one of the station's modules. The most remarkable milestone came in January 2024. Celestis launched the Vulcan Centaur rocket on a memorial mission into space. On board were the ashes of Gene Roddenberry, Majel Barrett, Nichelle Nichols, James Doohan, and DeForest Kelley. This time, they did not simply orbit Earth. The spacecraft left Earth's gravity behind and entered orbit around the Sunday. So, we have just explored 15 shocking facts that you may have missed about Star Trek 1966. Out of all the secrets we covered, which one surprised you the most? Share your answer in the comments below. If you enjoy behind-the-scenes stories, little-known secrets, and fascinating facts about classic Hollywood movies and television shows, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss our upcoming videos. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. We will see you in the next video, where we will continue uncovering the fascinating secrets hidden behind the classic productions loved by millions of people around the world.